This cute dragon carries a lotus on his back and is great for decorating your space no matter what your age. My link tree, linktr.ee/CATtheMinion, gives you easy access to Etsy, DeviantArt, Cafe Press, and my Amazon titles. You can own or make your own soft sculpture lotus from the 3D art foam lotus section of my Etsy shop. Use coupon code 3star17 to get 17% off your purchase of 3 or more items. Additional promo codes are available to visitors of my Patreon. Prints of Lotus Dragon can be purchased through my DeviantArt print shop. Click on the classic black ground dragon, and when you get to the individual page, click the Buy From button. Once you click on the button, you can select from the print menu various fine art prints with optional framing or small art gifts like mugs, postcards, and magnets. Some sizes and items are in classic and others are in the acid quad variation. Similarly, both variations of Lotus Dragon can be found in my Cafe Press shop. Click on the Classic Dragon to view all the items in both Classic and Acid Quad. Select your favorite versions of phone cases, blankets, shirts, drinkware, stickers, magnets, keychains, and more. You can come up with your own new color combination for Lotus Dragon. You get your copy of Dracoform's coloring book. Thanks for taking a minute to see the dragon. The video you're here to watch starts now.
Welcome to CATtheMinion YouTube channel. My name is Teresa, but you can call me Cat. This is Chapter Episode 8, and my guest this week is Karmann Sloane, also known as SketchyGoat. Karmann is an artist and art director.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. We're talking to Karmann Sloane here, also known as Goat and SketchyGoat. Hello, Karmann. Karmann is
Hello, Cat.
Hello. Karmann is an artist and art director, and we're going to show everybody what you're all about here, or at least what you're partly about here.
Right on.
All right. So I've got your website here, sketchygoat.com. Very groovy. So I did notice on your front page portfolio page here, after tooling around for a minute, that when I clicked on these, it went to other pages, and I was like, well, isn't that amazing? Because then I can see more. So I'm just scrolling down a little bit so people can see that you're doing video stuff and pictures. And I did open one of these for a sample. So I've got the specialty events and posters, because these were, I've seen you posting a lot of these lately. You've been really busy.
Yeah, I'm actually in the process of updating my website too, so I'll have all the new stuff I've been doing lately. But these are
Nice.
these, you can see all my posters, all the merch I've done, single covers. Just I've gotten the chance to work with some very, very cool people,
Nice.
and I love being able to showcase that.
Nice.
So I'm glad you like it.
Yeah, I mean, this is sort of like my wheelhouse. I make psychedelic art too, but mine's different than yours, but I feel a kinship there. So I've got your contact page here, and we just have the sketchygoat@gmail.com, so people can contact you if they're looking to.
If you want something drawn, if you have a concept that you think will look cool and you're not sure, send me an email. I want to work with you. I don't care who you are.
Great.
Always.
Yeah, that's how I feel about the show. It's like I don't care if you're like super famous or like I'm the only one that knows you. Like I want you on my show to talk to about art.
Yes, conversations produce creativity. So
right,
that's all we're trying to do here.
And then Instagram and Twitter, also the SketchyGoat, or just SketchyGoat without the, I don't know why I said the. And then Facebook too.
Yeah, I think the thing there is that my email is because someone took the name, so everything else is just straight up SketchyGoat.
Yeah, my email is a little bit strange too. It's thecatcamebackatcamp@gmail. So I feel that, but it's right there on the website. So if people get confused, they can check it out. All right, so stop sharing. All right, we are ready for the 3-ring circus of questions.
Excellent.
So the first question is, in your opinion, I got stunned. My brain turned off.
No, it's all good. It's the mind of a creative, right? No matter what you're doing, there's always something going on.
I know, like a squirrel like passed by, and sheep jumping over a fence. What is creativity and where does it come from?
Right. So that's a good question. I think for me personally, wanting to create anything artistic comes pretty much from nowhere, and everywhere all at once. Uh, it is something I remember being a little kid and I was tooling around the Helm Marcus Gallery. He's a painter in town who's pretty famous. He's pretty local though. And I remember just staring at these works of art, like what's going on. And the thing that stood out to me the most was like color and images. And as a kid, I had no idea what to call it. And he was like, "Well, that's what we call inspiration. It makes you want to draw something, makes you want to do something, something you wouldn't normally do." And for me, I think creativity really revolves around that sense of inspiration, that raw feeling you get when you see something that really stands out to you, that looks out of the ordinary, and then just building up from that. And you can find creativity in anything really, which is something I love about it. And it is something that I feel constantly. I'm always creating or thinking about doing it or thinking about what could come of something else.
Right.
It's a constant thing for me. But yeah, inspiration is most definitely the kind of thesis of that.
Right. And the second question is, what are you trying to express with your art form or art forms?
Another great question. So I think for me, expression, much like creativity, is really revolving around that inspiration. I'm inspired by, again, everything. And so when I do create, I want to kind of author a path into my mindset, I guess. I just want you to know what I'm thinking. I want you to
Right.
know that something's pretty. I want you to know that this is interesting, that you should be paying attention to this. And it's funny because working for people and working for yourself are two different things, but can be one and the same. I know none of this
Right.
makes sense. Artists, we don't know
No,
how to
I
talk.
actually I fully understand what you're saying. I'm practicing not interrupting right now.
No, it's all
So I need
good.
to work on that.
Well, yeah. I mean, when you hear something that kind of sticks with you, like, oh, I want to jump in, right?
Yeah,
But
that's part of the creativity right there. It's like my ideas are escaping from my head and they won't stay in there.
there's a quote I put on everything. It's actually by the comedian Bill Hicks, and it's just trying to facilitate a creative evolution. And I think for me, that's all I want to do. I want to
Yeah.
facilitate my creative evolution. I want all of us to do the same, in that, kind of build ourselves up and just make something worthwhile. And if I'm like commissioned or hired to do something, I want to bring that vibrance and that energy from, whoever wants it done, because
Right.
there's a feeling there that needs to be articulated, and that's where as hard as we can come help out.
Yeah. For me, I've done some commissions. I've got one that I'm working on right now. And it's a similar process, but I think for me, commissions tend to be more cerebral than like
It's more of a mental
emotional.
pattern getting out.
Well, yeah, it's like there's more left brain involved with a commission because you're trying to anticipate what other people want. Whereas if you're making for yourself, there's sort of like there's sort of a two things happening. It's like either your inner critic can be more critical of it, but on the other hand, the expansion of the art into whatever
You're
it's
trying to steer
natural
yourself.
yeah, it's like
Yeah.
whatever the natural unfolding is when you're making art for yourself, and you can sort of build up on it because in essence sometimes the commission is restricted unless somebody is like, do whatever you want, and then you're
Those
like,
are the
oh, but
best,
what if they don't
right?
like it?
Yeah. I think that's actually a balance I've tried to find ever since I started doing this, because all I've ever wanted to do is create and then create for people. I love it. I'll draw what you want, but I love trying to find that balance between, when someone lets you have a free for all kind of commission, draw what you want. You're like, cool. Now I have to read your mind. I have to get
Right.
inside you and kind of mold that with what I'm thinking. And I feel the more you do it, the easier that becomes. And the
Right.
more I've realized too, is a lot of times when someone's commissioning me, they do care about what I think. At least what I draw, who knows
Right.
what I'm thinking. But there is a bit of chance in that's scary, and I think that's why it's fun. That's why I love it. It's
Yeah.
terrifying all at once.
I think like one of the rewarding things though is if somebody's receiving an artwork that I made for them or like they're giving it to somebody else as a gift, and then I hear back that the recipient like cried or they loved it, then I'm like,
Oh
yes.
my God, right?
It's like I did it right. Like,
Or
'cause
if someone's like, oh, I have multiple of your things. I love that. It's
Mm.
exhilarating.
Yeah. Like I think one of the first things that was really exciting for me was to have things that I drew on other people's bodies, because there was like it has 10 years ago and then like 20-ish years
Feels
ago.
like yesterday. It's like 20 minutes, 20 years.
I
Same
know. I'm like, how
Yeah.
old am I? What?
Time is
But
an
yes,
illusion.
I had
Don't worry.
two people ask me to draw tattoos for them, and then they actually got them on their bodies, and I was like, oh my God, there's like people walking around with my art like on them, like besides me, because I have my art on me too, but
Oh, that's great.
it's one of those sort of like you know, I got
It's
a
like something you
cookie,
leave.
I got a cookie kind of a moment.
Yeah. You've been rewarded. You
Yeah.
express something and now it's there. And that's a
They
cool thing
patted
that
me on the head.
Yeah, that's something I love about too, and I think that adds to the what am I trying to do? I want to leave something
Mhm.
because my whole life a good portion of me is based on looking at stuff and just like I love looking at things.
Mhm.
And a lot of those are album covers and
Mhm.
posters and photography, and to me when I see those, that moment is forever. Those
Mhm.
people are forever, and this can't be recreated, but this moment is here, and I relive it every time I look at it. That's why I love art. um and when I produce something, in the back of my mind I'm going, this is going to outlive me, hopefully.
Mhm.
For many years, a t-shirt
Right.
design, a poster, a picture,
Mhm.
that is going to be here long after I'm gone, and that's all I want to do. And it's maybe someone else will like it. When someone likes something like that, it's wonderful.
When it's like when I'm making stuff, is a lot of it is like, it's not as much like, it's not really so much like I'm trying to like tell other people something. It's like I have to make a thing because I can't keep it inside of me. Like
You got to get it out.
there isn't any way for me to like stop making stuff.
It's an
'Cause
expression of who you are, and your
yeah,
like that drive is what keeps you. Well, as artists, none of us are sane, my God, but it's what keeps
I
you
can
from
agree with
going
that.
absolutely insane.
Yeah.
Is getting those, and that's why I think people will critique sad pieces, sad songs,
Mhm.
something that's not like bright and cheery, and it's
Mm.
like in that moment we felt this way, and then we're good. Like it's
Yeah.
there, and it's a reminder, and it can be beautiful, but we're past it.
I mean, I just had this thought too. I mean, aside from sad songs say so much, the like the concept is that I have to crap, I had something really good and then I forgot again. Um, I'm trying, it's like instead of like trying to tell people something, I'm trying to show them something, which is like
Illustrate.
a little bit more dimensional, because a picture is worth
Yeah.
1,000 words and all that crap. But it's like I can't, it's sort of like we're getting a little bit closer to that because we can share memes, but before that you'd have to explain a movie quote to somebody, and if they didn't get it then they still wouldn't get it, and you'd be like, God damn it. But now you
Sometimes
can
that's the
just
fun part
like
though. Like if you give
bring
like
up
a
a video.
random movie quote and they have no idea what's going on,
Yeah.
sometimes that's a fun moment.
Yeah, it can be fun to sneak it in there, but it's just in terms of relating to people in general, it's like you can't just like beam the visual in your head into somebody else. And I
Yeah,
think,
it's an aid.
yeah, for like more than trying to tell people how I feel or try to get them to understand something necessarily, it's like I had to see it, you need to see it too. Like, did
Yeah.
you smell that? That's awful. Come over here and
It's a
smell this,
yes,
but
and then you're
it's,
like, I want to smell that, but I
yeah.
gotta.
Yeah, and they're
It's
like,
a
oh,
shared
I was like, ew, that was awful. Like, yeah, I know. Like,
it's a shared experience, and
yes.
that's where the real creativity is, when you can share in that. And not everyone's going to get it, and
Mhm.
that's fine, that's great, but they're going to experience something that, even if it's the worst thing ever, it is something that's happened, something that
Yeah.
they can share, or you can share together, apart. Yeah, experience.
Yeah. It's like
Very
it's
eloquent.
it's like a way of like cracking open a little piece of your mind for observation.
This is your brain on creativity.
Yeah, this is your brain on canvas. This is your brain on film, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And
sometimes this is your brain on drugs. So,
I mean, sometimes, because that's part of question 3. Which, unless you have other stuff to say right now, we can do question 3.
No, I'm enjoying the flow.
Flow is camera. Right.
Take that camera.
I have to like fidgeting around here. So, have you encountered any of these 3 things, and do you think it's related to creativity? So, on the like subheaders of that question, we have the paranormal, which is like all of that stuff. We have psychedelics, which could be the drugs or like induced from any of the senses, right? Looking at the images, smelling stuff, music,
kind of like external
tastes, whatever. Yeah, external stimuli. Or internal ones if you're taking something. So psychedelics, and the other one that I came up with is neurodivergence, ADHD, synesthesia, autism, all of those things.
Right. That's another good question.
Oh,
too.
Have you experienced them, and do you think it's related to creativity? There we go.
Experience, yes. Relation to creativity. I think. So I think we've all experienced the cliches, especially when it comes to all of these, right? When we think of like the great minds of incredible, iconic creatives, we go, a lot of times you'll see really bad write-ups on these people who are like, they can only create on this, or it is only because they pull from this. And I really feel like the reality of it is you can make things, wonderful things, with or without any of that. And you can make really horrible things with or without that. For me personally, I think I've had experiences doing both, and I think losing fine motor skills, it is not easy to draw or paint, so I don't recommend it. Some people can. That's another thing that is just dependent on the person doing it. Just for me, it's good times and bad times on both. I just need a space to do it, and it will happen. Of course, if you're making a commission, I really don't think you should be on anything, because you might mess it up, but that's just my
especially
process.
if you're using traditional media, because there's no controls either.
Yeah, so that's the big thing too, is traditional media, depending on what you're doing, can really limit you. Can, emphasis on the can, all of this is completely relative to the individual and the user's experience. But yeah, if you want a clean painting and you can't use your hands, that's going to be a problem. I think it's just common sense, though.
Yeah, I mean, if you haven't already trained yourself to paint with your teeth or with a paintbrush in your mouth for, accessibility, then not using your hands can be a problem.
Yeah, I can't do that yet. I'd like to, but props to whoever can.
Yeah, I mean, I can pick up stuff with my toes, but I'm not going to be able to make any reasonable artwork with it in that way.
That is not part of the process. But it's funny that
not a skill that I have.
It's funny that when you kind of grow into yourself in this kind of industry of art and making stuff, and I think there's a part of you that really wants to believe in the myths of the great, oh, I did all of this while I was on acid, or oh, I did these fantastic things when I went on this weird yoga retreat away from everybody and cleansed myself, and just like either extreme. And I think as an artist, the more you depart from extremes and from, kind of fairy tales in a way, from those cliches, and you start living what you actually, what do I want to do with this? Where do I want to go? And you start listening to that, and you really become your own artist. And that's about you, and it becomes more centered around yourself, and therefore you have more control over it. I like that. That's
that makes sense to me. I mean, when you're talking, it makes me think of how Station to Station by David Bowie, right? He's like, somebody told him later on it was a good album, but he was so high on cocaine he has no recollection of recording it.
Yeah.
And I'm just
And then
like, that's probably, I mean, I like some of those songs on that album, but it's probably not a good place to be in.
oh god, no, I love that. Well, see, people have recorded great things on drugs. All
Mhm.
your is another joke.
Yeah, like
All
the
your
first
best
season of
albums.
SNL.
Hey, those are good. I love the 70s. How dare you? Those
No,
are
it's not,
good times. Cocaine
it's
is one hell of a
good.
drug.
I
I
mean,
know.
it's
I'm
just, you could
joking.
say like the comedy writing isn't as good when they're not all on cocaine, but I mean, it's hard to write comedy when you're dead.
Yeah,
There's, there's
cocaine
a
is one hell of a
trade-off
drug.
there.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
at the end of it, we love art regardless, I think. Wherever it
Right.
comes from. If it's good, it's good, and if it sucks, then well, I hope someone else likes it.
Yeah, I know. It's
And
like,
I
yeah,
love
that's not for me. I
yeah.
like, please
And
create, but like over like that over there more.
yeah, exactly. And to your point about like station to station, I love so much of like what Brian Eno's done too, like that whole era with Bowie and stuff Brian Eno's done not on drugs, you know. So
Mhm.
it's yeah, it's just about just preference. It's what's
Right.
good will stick.
I think I think I'm just sort of like milling around this idea of like the whole
It's very
it's
conceptual. It
well,
becomes
yeah,
hard to talk about. Yeah.
it's like what I'm thinking of is sort of like, it's sort of like a vision quest. So people might be like, they call it a trip, but if you're like on a vision quest, there's sort of a creative aspect to that. Like if you put on a self-hypnosis tape, and it's like, we had this one when I
Those
was
have never
little.
worked for me, so props to you,
We had,
man.
well, see, when I was like 5 and we had it on cassette, I put on the big headphones, like the real chunky fancy ones
Yeah.
with the twisty cord, and it'd be like, get like you're going down the stairs and you're falling asleep and all this, and then it would be like you're an eagle flying around, and then you're walking through the forest and this stuff. And I think like, even if you're doing a visualization or any kind of vision quest, or even like a real real ass like material world, like pentacle suit pilgrimage journey,
I like
that
pentacle soup. Yes.
soup, well,
I
yeah,
heard soup.
even well, I said like suit, like we're
Oh,
wearing
soup. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, tarot cards, but yeah, either, I mean,
I like
whatever.
those.
I mean, whatever.
Whatever floats your boat. But yeah,
Yeah,
what
whatever floats your goat there.
the goal is to kind of put yourself in a place where you're synthesizing and experiencing.
Yeah, I think that ends up being a right brain thing too, but it's just like there's an aspect of vision
Yeah, and I think
or
that's totally
auditory
yeah.
audition.
It's
I don't know.
yeah, it's there. It's I think more to your point is, and especially because it's relative to the user, I think is a good phrase for it, that it's dependent on whatever you're doing, whatever you're searching for. I mean, if you're looking to get, for example, if you're looking to get really messed up and make something, you're going to find a way to do it. And if you're looking to make something and focus on it to the point where you see it coming out of you,
Mhm.
I think you're also going to find it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that the point is, you really, if you want to do something, yeah, there's the muses and things come to you out of nowhere, and that is wonderful. But there are some times where that doesn't happen,
Mhm.
and you feel the need to create. And when you do, just do it. And I really feel that most of that is just do it, no matter what. Like if you think you're bad, if you think it's going to come out, if it doesn't come out right,
Mhm.
it's just important that you did it, you experienced it, and maybe try again.
Yeah.
But as long as you do it, and for me, you have to do it every day, like especially if you want to be that guy, like that artist or that
Mhm.
whatever, just do it. And slowly but surely, right, like things start to make sense.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'm sort of more and more here, like even like here and there in casual conversations online, especially encouraging people to make stuff. Just like, I don't care what you're doing, just make stuff. And now that I'm working on this thing that I'm doing called mental health break live streams,
Very cool.
it's like designed to for people to like sit down while the video is on and do a thing, whether they're doing the same thing that I'm doing or not. And I mean, it's
Think
already
about it,
helping
take a
me.
second.
Yeah, I mean, it's already helping me. I put off fixing my headphones for like a year and a half, and now they're fixed. So
Yeah, it is.
those kinds of things, or drawing something that you wanted to draw for a while. Well, now I've got this set thing, I'm gonna go and do it. There was, I think what I was trying to get to, talking about the vision quest aspect, is sort of like separate from like drugs and making stuff, and then separate entirely from like the actual making of the stuff. There's just this sort of field of ideas, right? Whether it's like cosmic consciousness or the Akashic record or whatever.
Or a really
It's,
cool video on MTV or
yeah.
YouTube. Just
Oh man, I used to watch MTV when I was little.
a good game.
I feel
Oh.
bad. I kind of feel bad for anyone that like started watching MTV like after 1995, because
Yeah.
like before that it was amazing.
Headbangers Ball, man. That's the stuff. It's
Mhm.
funny, if I'm ever in need of inspiration, the first thing I do is I'll put on YouTube, because they're everywhere, like a Headbangers Ball episode, or
Mhm.
just random music videos from songs, and there are some wild stuff, or like hits of the whatever. And no matter what, I will always come out with something
Mhm.
visual that I hadn't thought of before.
Yeah, I
It's a
mean
great
that was like
reset.
like like ingrained into my DNA from when I was really little, from
It's
like
a feeling.
like I was born in 82, so I watched MTV like when we had cable from like 1985 until 1993. And I think part of the reason that when I do the like work, um that I associate visuals with music so much is because of watching MTV.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
it's
definitely.
in
I
particular.
like that, and then like 120 minutes and stuff. I mean, everything visual for me, I think there's a part that comes from, like music and images, or people talking about their music and images,
Mhm.
great or poorly. And album covers, that album covers meant
Right.
so much to me. And I think that's, again,
Yeah.
really where I first as a kid went, I want to be Derek Riggs when I grow up. How do I do that?
I'm not sure who Derek Riggs is. What?
He's the artist for Iron Maiden. He
Oh,
kind of
okay.
made all of those freaky visuals really iconic,
Mhm.
and that was all I heard him. There was this tape of Maiden, and it's them talking. It's the cool
Mhm.
rock and roll guys talking about their music being
Yeah.
epic, and there's like a 3-minute blip of him talking about his painting,
Oh,
and as a
nice.
kid I just like rewound it over and over. I loved it.
Nice. I should know more album artists, and I keep forgetting the name of the guy. I think it's John Nash or something like that, who did Relay, or but mostly I just remember Giger. And then
Oh yeah, H.R. Geiger,
my
yeah.
brain just kind of like drops everything else. But I mean, I
His
still,
depth, Geiger's use of depth is just like, wow, you see that and it's a Geiger piece. And I think that's,
yeah.
part of being an artist, like when you can look at it and go, oh, that's so and so, that is
Yeah.
a feeling.
So I mean, even now, and for several years I've been like, I want to be like Giger when I grow up. I want to I want to do album covers. Like I want to work with the musicians, and also there's just sort of like artist community. Like I want to hang out with the people that are doing other forms of art, and it's sort of not available these days. So it's like you sort of have to create it online and then have it
Or
spill
it's
over.
or on another note, it can be really exclusory and very posh. You know what I mean?
Mm,
Like you're not one of us kind of
oh
thing. And
yeah,
that's not cool. That's
you're
never
not
cool.
polished enough. You didn't
You
sell
don't
stuff
you don't get
for,
it.
yeah. It's like you can't pull in 100 grand tomorrow, so fuck off.
Which is cool and all, but at a certain point when the art starts becoming about your clout, or
Mm-hmm.
your what you can show for it, that's not the actual art.
Yeah.
It's what even is it? It becomes a
Yeah.
bit
Is it good?
vacuous.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, let me run it through 3 different people.
Yeah.
No, but believe in you, and don't listen unless it's good critique. I love a good critique, like a
Mm-hmm.
very constructive pick apart my stuff. I do
Oh
like
yeah.
that. I
Mm-hmm.
think it's what makes you better, and But, you know, if it's someone writing a review, how much weight does that carry? That's
Yeah,
kind of
I
up
mean,
to you to decide.
I got my feelings really hurt like 10 years ago by an artist friend who told me that my art was crappy, and not in those exact words, but more or less that my art is crappy. With like a hint of undisciplined. And it like crushed me. And I was thinking, well, on the other hand, all of your work is dead inside, so maybe I shouldn't take that so hard, you know?
Yeah, that's always up to whoever's receiving the word. I mean, things can be hurtful, but I think the less you do get, you know what I mean? Like as you grow, you look back and like, I don't know if that would crush me now. The more you do get in that mindset, I swear, the better we all become, right? The more you can go, that wasn't that big a deal.
Yeah, it's like 20 other people might be making the same art that this person is making, but is anyone else making what I'm making? Probably not. I mean, it might be similar. I mean, you're making psychedelic artwork too, so, but yours is like definitely like a different flavor. And I've seen like most of your stuff seems to be digital too.
Yeah, so
And then you have more of a like a yours tends to skew more towards like an alternate color scheme too. Whereas like the main subject of my works tends to be uh like normal colored still with like rainbow around it.
yeah,
And it is
it's
sort of more partitioned instead of like that.
yeah, it's kind of funny. I'm my typical form of artwork is actually my preferred thing is ballpoint pen.
Oh wow, neat.
I do ballpoint realism when I find the time,
Awesome.
and that's what I actually went to. Um, that's what I did in high school to get like some kind of scholarship, and I tried to do a minor in uh, graphic drawing,
Nice.
and then COVID hit, and I was like, well, I'm not gonna do that. And then I tried graphic design. They're like, you're too messy. I love the graphic design
Rude.
department at the school I went to. It was like, we don't think you're quite clean enough, and we need you to take these prerequisites because it's just we don't think that you're gonna have a good foundation in life and all this stuff. And you just basically you're not gonna be able to do what you want to do. And then I got jobs and realized that's not true at all. So it really became more about this is what works and this is how I can do what I want to do.
Right.
Because like if I did the ballpoint pen stuff, I certainly wouldn't be able to work at it. You know, this wouldn't be a career and it wouldn't be what people are looking for all the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, you could definitely, I mean, I think like
I mean, the
it's sort
time
of,
alone is
yeah,
just like,
it's sort
wow.
of like when it's like if you're big enough, then people are gonna want to get the little stuff too. You know, it's like you could make greeting cards out of them or something.
Sure. But like when you have a client who's like, and if you have someone who's like, I want this, could you have it to me in 3 days from now? I'm like, sure, if I do it digitally, but you know, if I were to, if you put that in a different mind space of going, if I had to paint this without this medium,
Weeks.
I couldn't do that. So that's another cool thing about the getting to do things digitally is that, you know, you do have in this day and age, you do have that head start and ability to get things turned out.
It's still a little bit weird for me to make stuff digitally. Like I always feel like off when I'm using the little pen thing and trying to pick a color and all this shit. Just because I like, you know, since I was like 3 drawing with traditional materials, but I mean, I've been doing it now for like 12 years. So I've gotten more used to it and I kind of know what I'm doing, you know, and then
just do it. Just the more you do it, the easier it gets.
Yeah, it just takes a while to be more familiar with it.
It's a tool. It's another tool for us to use.
Exactly. We're back.
We back.
Yeah. It's sort of, I think we had sort of finished a section and then I was like thinking about what we were talking about and then I lost my train of thought, but that's fine because I think it's a good place to, I had a little bit, I don't know, my eyeballs are rolling up in my head, but I had like a couple external like addendum thoughts. One was that when I went to college, I went to UNH and they didn't even have a graphic design program yet when I was going through the art department. And I
Yeah.
actually got my degree in drawing, basically.
Oh, cool.
Which,
Props to
yeah.
you.
And then like partway through, I was like, well, I don't want to like rack up more debt and I don't want to be a super senior and do a 5th year. I'm like, what the hell am I going to do with an art degree? So I was like, I better get a business minor. Like, ooh.
Yeah, that's actually something that I had a really great, I think the best art educator I ever had was
Nice.
Miss Williams in high school. And it's funny because she would push me, and she's actually a really accomplished artist. I don't know why the heck she ever taught high school. She has had her stuff in museums and galleries, and she's yeah. I was like, why are you here? Like it always, but I think she actually cares, which is weird.
Well,
And
that's
she
good. Worked out well for you then.
well, yeah, no, for reals, because the work that
Synchronistic.
I did, the work I did in high school was actually I have turned that in college, and many of her students have the exact same story. They turned it in college, and they're like, "Wow, you're doing work way ahead of your time. Your ethic." She's the one who taught me ethic, who taught art should be
Nice.
your recognition. You shouldn't try and be someone else.
Yeah.
And since then, I feel like I've always compared people to her. And again, this wonderfully accomplished, insane Lorena Williams, you can look up her art. She's just a wonderful human and
I'm gonna
artist.
write
But
that down.
yeah, I can send you her Instagram. She there is no one like her in at least the college I went to,
Nice.
University of Texas. Not to dog on them, but they're also cliquey. There's a very cliquey vibe amongst a lot of artists where I went
Oh,
to school
okay.
from,
Yeah, I thought
and
you meant
very
like button click, but you mean like with a
no, they're very like
QUE. Yep, yep,
yeah, like
yep,
group, and
yep.
very like we do this and we
Mm-hmm.
do like it is
It's
like
like we
this,
wear
and
pink on Wednesdays.
yeah, and they're like
Mm-hmm.
the non-fun mean girls too. Like I'd
Mm-hmm.
wear pink on Wednesdays and tracksuits on Fridays. I can do that, but the way they went about it was very discouraging.
Yeah.
And
I found
kind of
that similarly when I went to school, but I'm gonna let you finish what you were saying.
no, yeah, it becomes a very exclusive circle, and like I said earlier, it becomes the sense of you can't do this unless this.
Mm-hmm.
And every time I get hired, and every time I'm hired for anybody, by the way, it's exhilarating. It gives me like a reason to do stuff.
Right.
I'm reminded that everything I learned, aside from when you turn something in, keep it clean, but that's kind of reasonable.
Mm-hmm.
Everything else is completely wrong.
Yeah.
And as a kid, you're told you can't do this also unless you have a degree in this. And for me, COVID really kind of shut that down, because you can't have art class. They couldn't have art classes through Zoom as hard as they tried.
Oh, because you had to be in person.
Yeah, exactly. That's because I ended up redoing. Talk about super seniors. Started redoing my minor.
Yeah, I can't imagine what it would be like to go through school with COVID. I like that ship sailed for me a long time ago. So I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't know how the kids are doing it these days. It's insane.
And it's funny because I was actually a history major. I saw my future writing research papers and interning in museums, which is something I care a lot about. I love history. I'm a total nerd.
Yeah,
About everything like that. But art was always like the back burner. You can't really do it unless you go for it degree wise. And again, I just don't think that's true. I think that if you want it bad enough, and you do have the resources and external situation to be able to do it, you find a way. You really try and find a way, at least, you know what I mean. And for me, that was that break in COVID where I finally got to actually focus. School was getting in the way of work. I actually got to focus on, for once, making money, some money, and doing that every day. And yeah, if it hadn't been for that, I think I'd probably still be working on a graduate thesis and dusting off papers and yeah, scary stuff like that.
I've learned enough since I graduated to know that I don't want to like go within 10 feet of academia at this point.
Yeah, no.
I'm like, I'm not restricting myself that much at this point in the game.
Even though it is great, I also got to work with a lot of professors because I got to tutor people, and I loved teaching. I mean, that was just so much fun. And where I did it, my job was great. I got to work closely with professors. My boss was like the coolest person. My coworkers were great. I loved school. It's all I ever did, and I loved academia. And but I found, especially lately, it became a little restrictive. And I also,
Mhm.
you realize too that like school's always going to be there. College
Mhm.
is always going to be an option. There are people who are going to want to give you loans and take all your money back later. But
Mhm.
when you're experiencing something like creativity and art, it is immediate. And if you let it
Yeah.
go, then you're going to do the whole what could have been thing, and that's
Yeah.
not fun.
I mean, I would have ended up like Dusty in a museum too, because I wanted to be a paleontologist when I was 5. And it's
Props
sort
to
of,
dusting off stuff, but I want to clarify on that. I love dusting off stuff. That was
Mhm.
exhilarating. Like being able to hold something that could, well, you don't hold it, but look at something
Yeah.
that could disintegrate.
Yeah.
Gorgeous feeling. So
I mean,
I
I
didn't mean to
worked,
talk on
no,
that.
that's fine. I worked in the slide library when I was in college in the art
That's
department, and
cool.
I loved it. I mean, I didn't like always having to file architecture because the other people were too stupid to do it, but
And you got like redo for it. You're like
yeah,
going
I'm
through
like, I want
manila
to look at
envelopes and
the landscapes and the naked ladies. Like, I don't want to look at
yeah,
some building,
totally.
but yeah.
I like the buildings.
Yeah, I mean, some of those like Angkor and those other places over there are really nice to look at.
Definitely.
Uh um when I was in college, when I was in the art department, I had the option of getting a BFA, which means like
Yeah.
12 extra art courses and all the money for the supplies. And I was already like poor as shit when I went to college. Like part of the reason
Being a
I
poor
got like,
kid too and going to
yeah,
art school.
mhm.
Jeez.
Yeah, well, I mean, $500 for a science book back then. I mean, art was a cheaper option.
Yeah.
But some of that is, like I just got the regular BA because I couldn't afford it, and I also got sick of doing art classes, and I was like,
Yeah.
I'm not doing more of this. Like I can't, like I'm already struggling with like 2 art classes every semester. I'm like bored out of my mind. I don't want to do it anymore.
It's a lot of work too.
Yeah,
That's the thing they don't tell you. It's like I love drawing, but here's how to suck the fun and
yeah,
life right out of it while
yep,
you're painting a color
yep.
wheel.
Put your heart and soul into it and then get a B. I'm like, you know,
And for
but
all of those with art degrees, we love you and we admire you. We just don't know how you do it.
yeah, I mean, it's hard to get good grades in an art degree because it's subjective.
I
Um,
couldn't do it.
I
Yeah.
did all right. I mean, I didn't do as well in photography because I didn't have my glasses yet, and then all my pictures were blurry. But and the professor was a bitch. But
There's that.
when I was in the school in the art department, it when you said it was very cliquey where you were, for me it was like that, but the way it manifested was basically you get a lot of clout as an artist in the art department if you basically sort of up one of the professor's ass as an apprentice kind of person. There are a couple of
If
people,
you're
there
a
was,
studio assistant kind of thing.
yeah, I mean, I think a lot of that too is the people that went for the BFA and took like an extra like 24 credits or whatever it was of art classes. Because there was one girl I know in ceramics who was like, spending all her time there, like studying closely with the professor. And there was another girl who was doing painting. Because when we did the senior show in the art gallery, they were, they had all this fancy stuff there and everything. But it's like, for me, like as a personality though, like I don't know if I would want to be under somebody that much because it sort of becomes it, it's sort of like, do I want to be like a little replica of somebody else so they can be like,
Yeah.
ooh, look at my protege, aren't I fancy? And it's sort of like basically every single art class I took was with a different professor. I don't think I had any
Yeah.
repeats. And it was sort of like suck what I can out of somebody and then like shuffle on my way. But it's sort of like horse blinders too. But I think in a way it sort of let me be my own person. But on the other
Yeah.
hand, unless you're, you know, sucking up to the teacher, there's no they don't help you promote yourself because once you graduate you're competing with the professors. It's not like in the business department where they'll like help you, get into the industry, because in the
Right.
art department
Contacts.
it's like throwing you to the wolves. They don't give a shit.
Yeah, and honestly, with my experience, I felt like they didn't throw me enough. Like I said, I love when my
Eat me
stuff.
farther.
No, that's something I learned in high school is that she would have like whether you were a freshman or a senior, Williams would have you do critiques, and some kids would cry, even though these are really generous,
Mhm.
Gen Z high school students. Like the worst thing they say is, well, I can't really tell what you're drawing, like
Mhm.
nothing was mean. And I realized the more I wanted people to not like me, because it made me better. Like I would just
Mhm.
do stuff that'd be better the next time. And when I got to college, I didn't get that as much.
Mhm.
I felt guided, but I felt like what they were steering me towards, which is, I guess, is their job. And there's
Mhm.
some excellent professors there. It's just,
Right.
it's not what I wanted to do. They were guiding me towards this very sophisticated kind of
Mhm.
your cliche, two things, cliche idea of an artist, where you see
Right.
this the senior gallery and you're like, what, I don't know what I'm looking at.
Mm.
Or you're going to go design logos for
Mhm.
this, or you're going to draw these things for clientele that are very standard, very black and white. And I guess that was kind of their job, and I realized neither of those things were something I wanted to do.
Yeah.
I mean, I knew I wasn't going to make it as, like I said, ballpoint pen is what I did best.
Mhm.
I'm not going to draw portraits for a living. That's just,
Yeah. You're
starting
not going to
artist
be
thing.
like a gallery snob kind of a thing.
No, that's not something I wanted to do. There's this guy, another hero of mine. His name is Jesse Higman, and I love him. He is a total, they're a total hero to me. Um, and he went from doing studio art to working for bands, and like some bands would
Nice.
bring him out. Like he was at Lollapalooza selling his own merch, which is really cool.
That
And
is
he was like,
cool.
"Yeah, I could be at home doing gallery stuff, but that doesn't give me life. That doesn't make me feel the same way this does, interacting and seeing my stuff here that is probably going to outlive even my gallery stuff." And
Mhm.
I think that's something I think about a lot, is those two options. Like, well, if school's for you, then kudos and do your thing. I couldn't do it, but you're probably going to be great at it. But there is this other option. And I wish people knew more often that there is another option for
Right.
art. It's just about really, really roughing it as much as you can, just being dedicated to producing.
I think that's kind of true of any situation where somebody's like,
Exactly.
you can either do this one or you can do this one. And you'd be like, I don't think so. And you're just like, you like hammer it through the middle and choose your own
Yeah,
path. There's always a different choice.
exactly. Like, you don't have to have a degree all the time unless you're like a doctor or a lawyer. Please have a
Mhm.
degree to get the job you
Yeah.
want. People care about experience for a reason. And sometimes it's really out there, but
Mhm.
if you just do the job better and you can get it done, then
Yeah.
what's stopping you,
Yeah, I'm surprised though that people told you had to get an art degree, because it was different for me. Nobody told me I had to do it. I was just like, well, I'm like, I just told myself that this was my backup plan because I made art.
Yeah. Oh, that's something about being an artist. You're always told that always have a backup plan, because there's no way.
Yeah,
This is not a career.
I know. I don't think I had enough backup plans. I just kind of like collapsed when I graduated because there was nothing.
Yeah.
Like, what am I gonna do now? Some of that is like gets into that like washed up child prodigy situation where if you're sort of like advanced for a long time,
Yeah.
you don't there is you sort of like outreach, like overreach the
You
like
peaked.
the social thing,
Yeah,
and you
you
don't
peaked.
know how to like fail at anything. So I was sort of like smacking into a brick wall, and it took me a long time to recover from that, basically.
Yeah, and that's an experience in itself. I think for me, when it came to art, the reason I went into it, or was just doing it, there's no like going into it. For me, it's just the only thing I've ever known how to do.
Yeah.
What I do best. It's
Yeah,
the
you
one thing
can't
I
really
never gave up.
decide to do it. You just do it.
No, it's something that I can't stop, and I've never been able to stop. And
Yeah.
so I'm glad. I can't believe it worked out. I'm really thrilled that with enough work and effort,
Yeah.
it works out,
I'm
or it
kind of
can.
like impressed and like happy for you that you're still quite young and you're having success, because I mean, a lot of artists like suffer for decades, or their stuff doesn't sell until they're dead.
Yeah.
And it's sort of like, I don't want you to have to experience like decades of struggling, because it wasn't fun for me, so it shouldn't be fun for you either, you know.
Yeah. I had Yeah, I mean, I think we've all had our rough start, like just life in general.
Yeah, I'm not gonna
Um,
say like you had it easy because that would be lies.
yeah, right, yeah.
It's like I
But
don't know everything, but I know enough to know that you
yeah,
haven't had it easy.
no, but I think I think a big thing about, and I do reflect on this a lot about why some of my stuff is successful is, as artists, we all know we're good. You
Hmm.
put enough, you do it long enough, and you draw the same thing over and over. You're like, no, I know what I'm doing here. I know how color works.
Yep.
But I got lucky with timing. I think that having that
Yeah.
digital medium and 2020, when everyone was staring at their phones
Yeah.
and having Instagram and being able to go like, okay, I can put this out here. I can do this every day.
Yeah. I mean, to be
If
honest, the pandemic actually helped me.
that helped me art wise too quite a bit, because I had a captive audience. I mean, what else were they going to look at but
Mhm.
look at me draw? And so if it had been another time, I don't think I'd have the same experience by any means. Um, just just luck. So there is that element of luck that is important to do, but also I could have stopped. I could
Yeah.
have stopped by now. I could have moved on, done something else, but I think it just goes back to just do it every day as
Yeah.
much as you can.
I mean, in terms of timing, some of it too, it goes into that synchronicity. Some of it is like networking is all about timing.
Yeah. Most definitely. I mean, and being able to communicate the right way, understand audience, understand
Right.
I mean, I'm lucky. Lucky. I just draw what I like. I
Hmm.
draw what's pretty. I draw pretty
Right.
things, I think. And I just can't believe that a good portion of those things or people also happen to be on Instagram. So,
Mhm.
yeah, timing's everything.
I
It really
did
is.
I did want to ask you a little bit more about um the making of psychedelic artwork in general.
Hmm.
Um and I sort of get that you're it's sort of like a free flow thing and it's pretty and you're maybe like in the zone. um do you feel like when you're making the posters for the musicians or the other things that they've asked you to make, the merch and stuff, the drum skin, are they like the like when you make it squiggly and stuff and
Hmm.
then like the shading choices and
The composition,
yeah, the
basically.
composition overall, especially the color. um do you feel like you're sort of focusing in on the vibes that you're getting from the material, like the subject matter?
Yeah, that's a great question too. I think so. I think that certain subjects, um there's colors that suit certain subjects, you know what I mean, like, and especially there's feelings that are translated, if
Mm-hmm.
you get a good red, it's going to have like kind of an aggressive feel. A good
Uh-huh.
blue might be a little sadder. It's
Mm-hmm.
but I think for me, some clients, like when I'm working for people, will
Mm-hmm.
ask for a certain color.
Uh-huh.
If you hire me, one of my first questions will be, do you have a preference in color?
Uh-huh.
And I haven't actually had anyone say, yes, I do. Or,
Mm-hmm.
they're like, oh, throw in bits of this and this. But
Mm-hmm.
no, because I really think that when I draw, I do feel that my subjects suit, the color suits them.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
So it's
and
just sort
so
of uh like a chemistry of vibes.
yeah, I think it's also a lot of trial and error.
Mm-hmm.
I've drawn a lot of bad pieces too, where
Mm-hmm.
it's like, don't do that.
That
I
combo
also
isn't working.
Yeah, that's not good.
Mm-hmm.
And also some really great successes and some surprising ones too.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just kind of a vibe I have in the
Mm-hmm.
middle of doing it. And luckily also a digital medium, I have, gradient shifts, I have color
Mm-hmm.
mappings that I do. So I can
Right.
change it if I don't like it at first.
Right.
Um, but another thing I've loved since I was a kid is our blacklight posters. I
Mm-hmm.
have this Number the Beast poster actually right behind me. Um, that I stared at my whole life, and it was just like, oh, I just want to make something like that. So you'll see in my
Nice.
work, I love doing blacklight posters. That was actually the first thing I ever got hired to do, was a blacklight poster.
High
Um,
contrast.
yeah, so when they're like, oh, we want this, like, I can do that. I love
Mm-hmm.
that. So I will forever be drawn to neons, high
Nice.
contrast, yeah, that kind of stuff.
I've actually made a couple of psychedelic things that are just black and white.
That's cool.
And
That's
it
another
takes
thing.
it's a little bit more of a stretch, but you can sort of tell when you hit it.
Yeah, it's funny. Psychedelia doesn't necessarily mean bold colors. It can be just a vibe. You know, trippy doesn't always have to mean a bunch of color
Yeah,
too.
it's a vibe, it's shapes, it's patterns, exactly.
Yeah, the last
Dimensions.
yeah, the last person I got to work for, which was or the last project I got to work on was with those drum heads. And one
Nice.
of the things they mentioned was like, oh, he really likes op art. And I was like, I love op art so much, and I'm dying to do more stuff like that.
Nice.
I've done so much of it, and that is pretty much just patterns. It's just black and white
Mm-hmm.
patterns that make your eyes go, what am I looking at? And so
Yeah,
that's one of my favorite things to work with too. So
nice.
it's don't feel limited by color. You can always make stuff no matter what.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, I think just going on a paper with ballpoint pen is a really good way
Yeah,
to sort of get started.
most definitely. Yeah,
Yeah.
just draw, see what
Mhm.
comes up.
Okay. Do you, I feel like it's getting to sort of a natural close for the conversation.
Agreed.
Do you have anything that you're working on or trying to do, or that you're currently interested in, that you want to like promote or talk
Sure.
about a little bit more before we say goodbye to people?
Sure. Yeah. Well, of course, as always, if you want something drawn, email me. I'd love to work with you, anybody that you
The
know.
email is the, right? The sketchy
Yeah,
go?
the
Oh, yeah,
sketchy
the
goat.
sketchy.
There's a
Okay.
the.
I just wanted to make sure
Um,
before I told people.
yeah, or if you want to message me on Instagram, I'm there too.
Awesome.
Emails are just easier because there's like a full brief and you can attach pictures and all that
Yep.
stuff. But let's see. I am also doing visualizers and lyric videos,
Nice.
which is fairly new to me.
Mhm.
I've gotten pretty proficient at it. Thank God for YouTube and being able to draw and stuff. But so
Yeah.
if you need videos too, I am down to do that. I love exploring. I love film. Um, I also do a podcast with some friends of mine,
Oh, cool.
where we talk to some pretty cool people. I've got to talk to my friends, some new friends,
Nice.
some of their friends. It's called the Chusky Boys. It's on Apple
Oh,
Podcasts, Podbeans,
okay.
wherever.
I
Um,
saw the graphic you did for that. I didn't realize that was something that you're actually like part of. That's cool.
yeah, I do all the graphics for them. We just got to talk to my friend Frank Catalano about jazz and the music industry, and we've talked to
Awesome.
like photographers and musicians and one guy
Cool.
from Breaking Bad, which is super cool. And we
Nice.
just, yeah, we love talking to people, and
Mhm.
you can hear me with them pretty much every episode
Nice. I
too.
mean, that's
So
a little, that's kind of what I'm doing over here too. Awesome.
yeah, exactly. And they were like, "Oh, you should come on regularly," and I was like, "Really? Sure, yeah." So it's just like I sit down with
Nice.
friends.
That's good too. I mean, I find your voice very soothing. You have a good,
Really?
yeah. I mean,
Cool. Well, thank you.
maybe it sounds weird to you in your head, but for me as a recipient, I find you pleasant to listen to.
Thank you. You too. It's I
Yes.
can't believe it, but I really appreciate it. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. I mean, I've been really enjoying talking to you. You're very thoughtful and intelligent, and all the things that make a conversation really good. So I appreciate you being here, and thank you for coming on the show.
Yes, thank you so much. It's been my pleasure. You're an incredible talent,
Oh,
and
thank
thank you for
you.
having me on. I love all your other guests, especially your last two, but that
I
might be
know.
bias.
Eh,
um,
be biased.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
fine.
you know.
I mean, part of
So
the
yeah,
reason that we're recording tonight is because they're on hiatus. So thanks,
it was a perfect day.
thanks, Allison and Mateo, for
Yeah.
going on a road trip.
Yes. Yes, it's great. Thank you
Yeah.
so much, Kat.
Mhm.
It's funny. I know your name is Teresa, but I see Kat pop up so much, and I hear people call you Kat.
That's fine.
I'm so used to calling you
Some
that.
people do still call me Cat, and then when I do the intro, I'm always like, "Welcome to CATtheMinion YouTube channel. My name is Teresa, but you can call me
Teresa, yeah,
Cat." Yeah, so
yeah.
it's
So
fine.
it's brilliant. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. All right. Well, good night. I'm gonna say bye to the people, and I will see you around the places, and hopefully everyone else will see you too. All right. Good night,
Great. Thank you so much
Carmen.
for having me on. Good night.
Bye.
Bye.
CATtheMinion energy work is focused on building a community around creativity and connectivity. Connect to new friends, the universe, and yourself. Shift your perspective of everyday life. Alleviate the stresses of daily life by tapping into self-expression. Help me build my offerings around your needs by investing, interacting, and brainstorming new things we can do. Your financial contributions via donations, purchases of goods and services, and participation on Patreon allow me to pay mundane bills, upgrade to better interactive services and equipment, and to buy art supplies and materials. Additionally, your support helps me pay it forward to charities, other energy workers, and artists, and to gain more visibility so our community can reach even more who need it. You can find a number of the goods and services I offer by clicking the links from my website, cattheminion.wordpress.com, or from my link tree, depending on your preference, linktr.ee/cattheminion. I'm offering original art pieces, digital downloads, art prints, merch, tarot readings, divination tools, templates, coloring books, a dark poetry book, YouTube content, self-care encouragement, and more.